All right, here we go, boys and girls. We are going to switch gears. We've done a lot of work with fractions last couple of days. Make sure you knew how to use your machines. If you're still getting caught up with that, make sure you're asking questions about it. Shoot some emails to me or Mrs. Schleter. But we are going to progress, and we're going to be on this topic for quite a few days. And we're going to talk about solving one-step equations. So this is day one. All right, so first off, we did our order of operations and things like that. Those are called expressions. These are going to be called equations. What's the difference? These problems now will have equal signs, and you will solve them. You will find out what x or y or a or b or c equals. Okay, you're going to find the answer like you're used to. Okay. So how do you solve an equation? Well, it's important to understand that those operations, remember the ones that were on the same level of the order of operations, multiplication and division, addition and subtraction, they also have another name. Those pairs, they're called inverse operations, okay? Multiplication and division are inverse operations. What does that mean? That means they undo each other. It means if you start with some value, some mystery number, and I just make it up. Let's say I multiply it by 3, and then divide by 3. If I start here, multiply by 3, divide by 3, I'm going to be right back in the same place. All right? It's a little easier to think about with addition and subtraction. If I start on some floor of a building, and I go up 3 floors, and then I go down 3 floors, where do I end up? In the exact same place, okay? Going up 3 and down 3, those are inverses of each other. They undo each other. They're opposites, okay? So you end up right back on the same floor you started. So now, how that helps us is when we have an equation. If I have some mystery number, and I went up 4.5, and now I equal 7.2. Well, I know with my inverse operations that if I simply undo this, and I go the opposite, and I go down 4.5, over here, these opposite steps are going to undo each other. We don't like the word cancel. I'll explain that a little bit more in detail some other day, not right now, maybe when we're face to face. But just understand that these are opposites, they're inverses, they make 0. So the only thing left on this side of the equation is x. Over here, I just have math, okay? I put this in a calculator, 7.2 minus 4.5 gives me 2.7. So now, because of inverses, I know that this is my original number, and I started at 2.7. So I use inverse operations, the idea of going up 3, down 3, to get me back where I started to solve an equation. Let's look again. Again, some mystery number. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. But if I go up 1 1/4, I end up at 3 3/4. Well, fine. I use my inverses. What happens if I go back 1 1/4? The fundamental law of algebra tells me as long as I do the same exact thing to both sides of the equation, then my equation is still equivalent. It's still true. So again, I started some mystery number. I went up 1 1/4. I go back 1 1/4. I'm at the original place. Here, if I was at 3 3/4, I go back 1 1/4. That's just a subtraction problem. I get out my calculator. 3 3/4 minus 1 1/4. I get 2 1/2. Picked a bad spot to put that problem, didn't I? Don't believe me? Get out your calculator and double check. So, number 3. Again, doesn't matter which side the problem's written on, it's the same concept. Started something, I went up 3.2. Well, how do I get to where I started? I go back 3.2. I have to do the exact same thing on both sides of the equation. I get it, my calculator. 8.9 minus 3.2, 5.7 is where I started. Inverse operation. Do the opposite. All right, number 4. Again, notice I'm not throwing you around with just some plain numbers here, okay? This makes it a lot easier to understand if I throw this around with fractions and decimals. You got to think a little bit more, and the number doesn't just jump off your head. If I put x plus 2 equals 7, everybody knows x, what plus 2, that's 5, done, okay? Make this a little bit harder, make you have to think, throw these fractions and decimals around, right? So, again, what's the concept? How do I solve an equation? I use the inverse operation. I see addition, x plus 2/3. I subtract 2 1/3 from both sides of the equation. Plus 2 1/3 minus 2 1/3. The only thing left over here is the x. 7 2/3 minus 2 2/3, 5 1/3. You get the idea? You get the concept? I don't even need to do these last 2 examples. Take your assignment. Get it done. Good luck. Ask questions.